Welcome to Negotiation Made Simple. I'm your host, John Lowry. Today, I've got some really exciting news. I'm excited to announce that on October 31st, 2023, yes, that's Halloween, that HarperCollins will be launching my book, Negotiation Made Simple. This is a book that I've been working on for the last 4 or 5 years. I'm really excited about finally getting this project out to everyone. And I wanted to take this episode today to really give people the backstory behind the book, to give an understanding of why I wrote the book, and to give people kind of a sneak peek of what will be in this particular book. So the backstory behind the book is this. As I look at all of the negotiation literature, and I think I've read most of it, I've got an extensive library, and I look at these books, and I have conversations with the scholars in the field, both at Pepperdine and the other institutions where I get an opportunity to teach. And there is a lot of incredible people that are doing some very innovative thinking around negotiation. But at the end of the day, the reality is this. The person that really captured my heart is the small business owner or the person that works for an insurance company or the salesperson that's out there hustling, trying to make a living. These people are negotiating every single day. They're raising kids, they're working in their business, they're coaching Little League, they're doing all of this stuff. And yet at the end of the day, they've got to put these deals together. They've got to solve the problems that come to them. And they're going to use negotiation to do it. Now, with respect to all my colleagues in the academic circles, those conversations are really interesting. There's a lot of incredible thinking that's happening. But sometimes that theory, that research, that thought doesn't get translated down to people that actually are doing this process every single day. And so that's where this book, Negotiation Made Simple, comes in. What I hope to do in this book is to create a very practical guide for solving problems, building relationships, and delivering deals. And my hope is that we can take the best of the best in thinking, in thought, in research, in evidence, and we can then translate that into a tool, really, for people to use to manage each and every negotiation they find themselves in. And so what's been fun about this process is throughout the journey of this process, some of the thinking has changed. And so I've had to incorporate that into this book. Some of it hasn't. Negotiation has been around forever. In fact, the word negotiation is born out of the Latin root negotiatus, which means to carry on business. And so what that means is whenever a person, someone came up with this idea of negotiatus hundreds of years ago, maybe thousands of years ago, you can imagine the moment that they were in, where they were looking at the marketplace and people were bringing bread and animals and grain and all sorts of different things, and they were being exchanged in the marketplace. And someone looked out and said, what do we call that? What is happening here? And someone came up with this idea of negotiatus. And now today we call it negotiation, and we're exchanging lots of different things, but so often the process is the exact same. To where you've got, at least in the context of business, a buyer and a seller. And the buyer would like to get it for less, and the seller would like to get more. And so here's the process that resolves how much or what that deal is going to look like. It's been around a long, long time. And so there's some of this that hasn't changed very much. And what I wanted to do was to take those dynamics, to take that learning and that understanding, the things that we know about this process that have been tried and true for literally hundreds of years, and to package that in a way that's super useful. What I also wanted to do was to bring some new ideas, bring some different thinking. So for example, in this book, there's a chapter on empathy in negotiation. I've never seen a chapter on empathy in the context of negotiation. Now, there's a lot of things that are described in negotiation that are very empathetic, things like interest-based bargaining and all of that. It's rooted in empathy. But the idea of taking empathy, a value that is very important today, one that people hold out. It's beginning to start to crack kind of the business world in terms of an understanding and an appreciation for how empathy can help you grow your business. Well, I haven't seen anybody take it and really apply it in the context of negotiation. And so empathy, though, I think is a critical factor in how I negotiate, especially some of the large legal settlements that I negotiate. If you're not empathetic to the other side, then you can't lead with need because you don't know what the need is. And I found this idea of leading with need is something that is super useful in unpacking and resolving those very difficult disputes. And so you get something new in this book as well in terms of this thinking about empathy. But one of the things that have been fun in this book is full of checklists and tools and questions and things to reflect about. It's a very personal book to where it's not just something that you're going to read and theoretically engage or intellectually engage and then put down and say, that's interesting. But this book is going to call you to kind of get into the trenches in one of your negotiations. It's going to give you the opportunity to really think about that negotiation using a completely different framework, a completely different thought process, but one that hopefully you can master and as a result, be able to generate much better outcomes. And so that's really what this book is about. But there's even a deeper meaning. There's even something far more significant that I hope happens out of this book. I hope that people can use it to make more money. I hope they can use it to grow their business. I hope they can use it to accomplish their career and business objectives. But really, if you get to the core of what this book is all about, this book is about helping good people do good things. That's what I hope to see happen in the world. And that, I think, is the promise of negotiation. This is the moment where good people, they get into a dispute. They get into a place to where there is a potential of a fractured relationship. I hope this book can be helpful in those moments to help those people find reconciliation, to help those people maintain that relationship. There are a lot of people out there that are trying to do a ton of social good, but they've got to navigate a complexity of relationships and political dynamics and organizational issues and all of these things that get in the way of progress, that get in the way of making a positive change or making a difference. The only way that those people that are trying to do that good will be successful is if they have really sharp and refined negotiation skills. I hope this book gives that to them. And so really, the success of this book is not going to be how many copies it sells, although I hope it sells a lot. But the success of this book will be hopefully people going out and using it to make a difference all over the world, whatever that means for them, in whatever industry they're working in, or with whatever group of people they're trying to help, or with whatever change they're trying to make reality. That's where I hope this book can make a difference. So I start the book with this story, and I think it's a story that's really reflective of what the purpose of this book is all about. And it's the story of two farmers. And these two farmers, they have lived next to each other for years and years and years, farming their land. Their spouses have died, and now these two farmers are kind of alone. And these two farmers get in an argument one day over a stray calf. One thinks it's theirs, the other thinks it's theirs, and they really get into it over this calf to the point that their relationship is now fractured. These two guys have been friends for years, but now it's all come to an end because of something as silly as a disagreement over a calf. So one day, there's this carpenter that is traveling through town that is looking for work, and the carpenter runs into this farmer. And the farmer says, "I've got some work for you." And so the farmer takes this carpenter down on his property And right there where his property connects with the other farmer's property, there's a creek. And this creek is kind of the dividing line between these two properties. That creek is all that's been necessary for decades in terms of these farmers understanding where their land ends and where it starts and things like that. But now, because of the fractured relationship, this one farmer wants to build a fence. And so he asked this carpenter to go buy material and to build a fence so that no longer would there ever be a calf that gets loose. No longer would there ever be any dispute about where the property lines are. And now, hopefully, he wouldn't have to deal with his neighbor again. So the carpenter goes and buys all this lumber, and the farmer goes off and does his work, and he comes back at the end of the day, and he shows up, and he's amazed because there's no fence. And he wonders what the carpenter has been doing all day. And so he goes down there and looks. And when he gets down there, there's the carpenter, but there's the other farmer. There's his friend. There's the person that he's in this dispute with. And they're standing there. And so he gets down there, and you can tell he's kind of fired up. Like he's not happy because things didn't happen as he wanted those things to happen. And he gets down there, and here his friend that he's in this fight with steps over and gives him a big hug. And he kind of doesn't know what to do with it. And then what he realizes is that the carpenter hasn't built a fence, but in fact has built a bridge. And that bridge now has been traveled over by the other farmer. They've found the ability to reconcile. And as a result of that, these two farmers will be friends again. And so you see, that's what I hope this book does, is this book, I think, is reflective and empowers people who want to be like that carpenter. People who look at problems, whether they're in business or in organizations or in life, and will have the skills to think differently about how to solve those problems or put those deals together. People that will be so confident and so sharp in their skills that they'll be able to think differently. And so instead of building a fence, do things as boldly as build a bridge. But as a result of that, do some real good in their businesses, with their clients, in their communities, and maybe even in the world. And so that's what Negotiation Made Simple is all about. It's super practical. I think it will be super useful, but it is rooted in what I believe is the best of the best thinking out there. Now, some might read this book and say, oh, I've heard that before. Well, some of it, absolutely, you've heard it before. It's the best of the best. And I didn't necessarily come up with it, but it's the best of the best. The research that you'll see, the ideas that you will experience and engage in this book, some of those, as I said, are tried and true. But then there's some really new stuff that's going to be valuable to you. And so I encourage you, as you hopefully buy this book and engage it, that you will go through it, but you'll really dive into it. It won't just be a read. It'll be something that you experience and that you really put these tools to work. Because if you do, I believe that with that knowledge and with that discipline and with those ideas, that you can make a real difference, that you can generate much better outcomes in your negotiations. So I'm excited about this moment. I hope you're excited too. Negotiation Made Simple is available for pre-order right now on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Target, wherever it is that you buy your books. And so the special offer I want to make you is this. If you pre-order Negotiation Made Simple, I want to send you a free copy of the Negotiator's Preparation Checklist. This checklist will make all the difference in your negotiations. It asks you a bunch of questions that if you think through these questions, you will be better prepared to go in and be successful in that negotiation. There will be no surprises. You will have thought through it. You will be ready for the tough moments. You will know where it is that you can capture value and get a great deal because of this checklist. It will either save you a ton of money or make you a ton of money. And I want you to get it free in exchange for pre-ordering Negotiation Made Simple. So the process is really easy. Go ahead and pre-order the book wherever it is that you buy books. And then what I want to ask you to do is simply send a picture of your receipt. Send it to book@lowrygroup.net. That's book@Lowry, Lowry, group.net. Once you send that in to us, we'll turn around and we'll send you the checklist. And that checklist, I promise you, will make a difference in your negotiations if you discipline yourself to work through it. Thanks for listening to today's episode of Negotiation Made Simple. I hope you'll go out and pre-order this book. I hope you'll be excited about transforming your negotiation skills with what you learn in this book and with what you learn with the checklist that we want to send you as a pre-order offer. If you take this and you put these tools to work, these tools will produce. They'll produce success. They'll produce results. They'll produce progress. They'll produce whatever it is that you put them to work to produce. And as a result of that, you can be better and you can get more done and you can make a difference. Thanks for listening, and we'll look forward to seeing you on the next episode of Negotiation Made Simple.